I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road.
What's up, JFW family? Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. Pretty excited this morning. Welcome to the studio, Brother Dave, Super Dave, and you'll never believe it, Dustin Romero.
Good morning, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, Dustin.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was a no-brainer for us. We need somebody for the podcast. Let's call Dustin.
He'll do anything.
We went from even this. We went from hardly seeing you at all to, man, we've been seeing quite a bit of you.
Yeah, I like showing my face around here. I've missed everybody.
Yep. And you're coming back on Monday, right?
Yes, sir.
Cool. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. In the meantime, let's kick it off. If anybody's out there that's feeling patriotic this morning, we're about to do the pledge. We'd love for you to join us. We also have Lola in the studio. Sorry, Lola.
Okay.
Do you want to kick us off with the pledge? Sure.
Sure.
Okay. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd imagine being one of your kids, Dustin, like, you got to be patriotic. I mean, I know Dustin Jr. is.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Does that carry through to the girls?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. Well, welcome to the podcast, Lola. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to go out and do some trucking today. We pray for the safety of our fleet, all of their families, and all the other families and individuals we come across on the road today. We pray for patience and in making the good, safe decisions. We pray to be accident-free and that we all make it back to the comforts of our homes this evening. We pray for healing and 100% recovery for all of our family members that are ill. And no matter what, we trust you, God. It's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
As a reminder, anything you hear on today's podcast is not the opinion of JFW. We're not even endorsed by JFW.
What is that supposed to mean?
They don't pay us to say things. Well, actually, not on this podcast anyway. Anything you hear is just our expressed opinion, so don't sue us. We don't have any money anyway. Episode 125 had 450 downloads. That was a Troy Hill episode. We are at 69.7 thousand total downloads. This is a nice one. We got 563 followers. Guess how many more than last week that is?
163.
Couldn't tell you.
Five
Oh,
more.
sorry. I was going downloads to followers because that's like, I'm shocked at that, Jim. We have 163 more followers than listened last week.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people fell off.
I'm wondering, think spring break had anything to do with that?
Week.
It's been spring break last week, this week? Or
I've been trying to figure out how this works for 2.5 years.
spring break?
No, followers
Oh,
and listens. Like,
Probably the weather.
it could be the weather. It could be
Work has a lot to do with it. When we're busy, they are listening because they're just driving their trucks and listening.
Yep.
Honestly, I think catchy titles is what drives listens.
I believe that, Jim.
Yep.
I totally believe that.
Yep. If we could draw pictures with like crayons and stuff, I think we'd have something just bright. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Because I mean, personally, I thought last week's episode, I thought it rocked.
So here,
Hands down, I felt, but it's obviously a topic I'm very passionate about. Troy is so articulate. He was able to get his point across on every single thing he was talking about.
here's the thing about last week's podcast. It didn't break records as far as listens go, but we had more people call and write and say things about it,
Yes.
about how great it was. I mean, Jesse Baeza This was the best podcast ever, he said. He's
Right.
been on a podcast.
Right.
He likes Troy's better than his own. So
Well, he's a
It might
different
have
breed,
been-
though.
It just might have been too political for some, though.
Well, it still would show the listen, Dave.
yeah. So to me, it works like this. Somebody really likes last week's podcast, they listen to this week's. If they don't listen to this week, next week they'll be like, eh.
Right.
So Dustin, no pressure.
Oh, yeah, no pressure.
I'm gonna have to make a real catchy title involving Dustin Romero. He's back.
I think the title should be one of Troy's phrases last week. If I'm the third monkey in line getting on the ark and it's starting to rain,
Done.
I'm getting nervous.
I don't think that was exactly it. But yeah, it had to
Close
do with the
enough.
sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Okay. All right. I'm a little tired today. One of my neighbors knocked on my door at 2:30 last night, 2:30 a.m. He's lucky I was up playing my bagpipes.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. Wah, wah.
He reeled you in, didn't he, Dave?
No.
Do you guys know? Do you
I
guys?
haven't even reached out for it.
Do you guys know the leading cause of dry skin?
No.
Lack of lotion, I don't know.
Towels.
Wow.
All right, I'll be here all week. Well, for the rest of the podcast, anyway.
That's funny.
What you got, Dustin?
I had to go with prosthetic jokes.
Of course.
Yeah, dad
Damn it,
joke.
I should have done that.
My first one, I have a couple of them. My first one is, why are prosthetic limbs so in fashion?
No idea.
Right?
Because anybody can pull them off.
Oh man.
Ba-da-ba.
Can they?
Has your,
Sounds like yours is on there pretty good.
Yeah, mine's ratcheted on.
has any of your dogs like try to steal it and like
No.
chew on it like a bone?
No, but Tabitha has like warned me that she's gonna take it from me.
Oh
Yeah, I
wow.
shouldn't hide it.
That's great.
Yeah, so everybody knows that I have a prosthetic leg now. I make it pretty well known. That's why I've been out, but I just hope the previous owner is getting around pretty good.
Found that thing at a garage sale or something, Dustin?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I could use that.
A lamp.
We do have, or the girls had that one leg lamp. You know?
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
From a Christmas vacation, or the Christmas Story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome.
That would look good on you.
In the fishnets?
Yeah, yeah. Put that on there, Dustin. You'd be
I'd be showing
styling
it
up.
up all day.
All right. Who's got a joke?
I'll jump in.
Jump.
He did prosthetic jokes. I'm doing political jokes this week. Have you guys heard about the new McDonald's presidential value meal?
No.
You order what you want, and the person after you has to pay for it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what the most unfair thing about American politics is?
Nope.
We get 50 choices for Miss America, but only 2 for president.
True.
Yeah, that is truth, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, mine's a little bit more mainstream dad joke here. Did you know the inventors of the Ferris wheel and merry-go-round never met? You're right. They traveled in different circles.
Ah.
Now that's a dad joke. You
Yeah.
cannot deny that.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it. Who gave you that?
Matt Montano.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Matt joke.
It's a dad joke.
Yep.
I
Dad
like it.
jokes are like that.
No doubt. All right, new employees. We got Lindsay Fuel, right? Pronounce it Fuel?
Fuel.
Yep. Lindsay Fuel starts today. Welcome to the fleet, Lindsay.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome, Lindsay.
Celebrations are a little light this week, but they're good ones. So anniversaries, Fred Powell hits 3 years this Saturday.
Congratulations,
That's awesome.
Freddie.
Uncle Freddie. Hey, bud. And then you want to announce the birthdays, Dustin?
Sure. My son just turned 20 yesterday, Dustin Jr.
Hey, happy birthday, Dustin.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I
Happy
almost
birthday,
called
Junior.
him Junior. What's he like as a 20-year-old?
He is a awesome kid.
Yeah?
Like, he has a good head on his shoulders. His sister might not think that, but I think he's grown into be a good young man.
Nice. Is he still beatboxing on the toilet?
You know, he doesn't really disclose that anymore, but probably. I can see him doing that still.
That's funny.
You know, he's been a guest on the podcast before, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did good.
Yep,
Yep.
he did.
No family birthday celebrations this week. I
That's
mean,
crazy.
Dustin's celebrating Dustin's birthday,
Yeah.
but he's also an employee, so
True.
doesn't make it sense. All right, shout out, or do you have, well, yeah, shout outs. Ghost, he wants to thank everyone who's reached out and supported him. If you don't know, Ghost lost his daughter about a week ago, 2 weeks. It's been a little bit, but
Yeah, a couple weeks, I
yeah.
think, Jim.
He wanted to thank us for the wind chimes. He's actually given the wind chimes to Holly's sister, his other daughter, so she could remember.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so wanted to say thank you. And then Martinez says, hey, good morning, Jam, for Wednesday podcast. I want to send a shout out to the JFW Fam Bam. As you guys know, I lost my best friend, that's his grandfather, who he looks like as a dad and a best friend, a few weeks ago, and it's been hard on me at the same time. It has been a blessing to have management and drivers reach out to me through my darkest time. The pain is still there, but one day it will subside. I also want to thank you guys for the wind chime and giving me the days off to gather my thoughts and spend time with my loved ones. Again, thank you guys for support. It is a blessing. To the JFW Fam Bam, let's be safe, take the high road up, and watch everybody else underpass. 0084, bam, bam.
Nice. Good job, Tony.
Yeah, good job, Tony.
Got a couple other shout outs. Tommy Trujillo says, hey, good morning, Jam. Want to give a shout out to the JFW family for my daughter's birthday gift. It was awesome. She loved it. Thank you. Send us a picture, Tommy. We love seeing kids with their faces lit up and a gift in their hand. And then Nicole had an accident the other day. She said, good morning. If you guys do shout outs on the podcast, can you shout out Francisco Alvarez and Rick Showtime Gray for stopping by to help me? Have a great day, Jam. So that was pretty cool. We've seen it on video. All of a sudden, you know, here's Francisco, and then Rick Ray called with the report of what's going on and, you know, gave us some information we needed to know. So
Yeah, I didn't see the video of Rick, but I saw the video of Francisco, and
Yeah.
there was some urgency in his movement. You know what I mean? He was taking care of business to help out. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool to see.
that is cool. So you guys got any shout outs? Wow. So self-absorbed.
Crickets.
I thought that's why they were written down.
Well, you got to read the outline to write something down on it.
Wow. Man, I thought I threw a lot of options out for this week, but now I see how we're going to play today.
You said it's going to be a good one. All right, well, let's get into discussion. Dustin, welcome back. Glad you're here. Glad you're coming back to work on Monday. Tell us a little bit about your journey, you know, the highs and the lows, and how excited are you to come back?
Oh, man, I am super excited to be back, be coming back. This all started over the 2022. In June of 2022, I had broken my foot and went to urgent care and got it to where it was feeling a little bit better, but they kept telling me, they kept diagnosing me with gout. And in all reality, the whole middle of my foot was disintegrated and broken, and it had shifted into my arch of my foot. So I had walked on a broken foot for 2 months, and finally, August 2nd, I couldn't handle the pain anymore, and I went into the emergency room and had an MRI and some x-rays done, and they told me that the whole middle of my foot was missing and that it was just like a bunch of bone fragments in there. And I was in the hospital for 5 days. They did a surgery. They did pins in my foot and got me thinking that everything was going to be better, you know, heal. So that surgery failed with the 2 pins. So they did another surgery where they put 3 pins in now. Then they also put 3 plates and 23 screws.
Oh, wow.
And I had a totally reconstructed foot, and it was painful to do anything with. And go about a month and a half later, the surgery didn't take, so I came to the conclusion where I was going to have to make the decision to have my leg amputated from below the knee. And it's a huge decision. It plays with your mind a lot, because this is a life-changing situation.
Can't imagine.
And I talked with my family, and a lot of discussions, actually. I was like, well, I can have it redone, reconstructed again, and the outcome is probably going to be the same. So we were leaning more towards the amputation, and I was like, I just want to be pain-free.
Right.
So in September of 2023, I had my foot amputated. And waking up from the surgery, I still get emotional.
Yeah.
It's weird looking down, seeing that you're missing a leg.
Right.
And you're just laying there and you're like, what am I going to do? So I had nothing but positivity around me, and that helped out a lot. From friends, family, co-workers, everybody reaching out. They really, truly helped me along through that process, because you get into a dark place to where you just tell yourself, I cannot do this anymore. This is tough. Being without a leg and trying to get around a house with stairs and different obstacles, and you can't even get up and let your dogs out, and you're constantly in a walker and hopping around. It's really strainful to the other part of your body. So just with all the love and support and of friends, family, and coworkers, I made it through with a great attitude. I only went to the dark place a couple times, but the positivity and everything really helped me through. And I'm just so grateful for everybody in my life right now, and it actually changes you as a person. Makes you look at like the big picture instead of just focused on, well, damn, I lost a leg. And I am doing great now, and I'm so happy to be coming back April 8th back to work, and I'm just ecstatic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, when you were having all your foot problems, it didn't seem like you were in a great place. You were in a lot of pain, and having the decision to make about, the amputation, and, I don't know that anybody could have been any better than you as far as your attitude goes, but you could see it was weighing on you. And then fast forward to a couple weeks ago, man, when I just seen this mass move by the window, and that's not a joke, right? And I didn't know who it was, and then you walked into Dave and Dave's office, and I just seen you, and bro, you were glowing. And it was like, I'll never forget that day you walking into that office. You just looked so happy and healthy and pain free. And I've seen you a few times at your house, just briefly. You weren't mobile. I remember you were like, I decided to go out today, and going out to you was going out to your garage. Yep. And just looking out the garage in a chair. Yeah. That was like that was your activity for the day. Yeah. So yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so proud of you for your attitude, and I mean, you look great and you sound great. So
well, thank you.
Yeah. I do have a question. So the urgent care, they didn't do x-rays, or how did they miss that?
They did do x-rays, but the x-rays didn't show anything. Like the way the ER explained it is when they take x-rays of my foot, what wasn't totally disintegrated. Bad, right? Yeah. That bad at that point. So it didn't show any fractures or anything because my foot was so swollen. It just kept everything together so tight.
Wow.
That it didn't show anything. And I'm taking these high doses of gout medicine, and that medicine makes you feel bad. Like it does something to your body.
So you never had gout?
I'd never had gout. No.
Wow.
And that pain just kept getting worse and worse, and I started limping more and more, and I had to go get checked out.
What a tough dude walking around on a broken foot for 2 months.
Can't they determine if you have gout through your blood test?
A blood test, yes. And
Yeah.
they never took
They,
blood.
they didn't. Wow.
Which urgent care is this? Because I don't ever want to go there.
It's just one in the neighborhood. I don't want to drop a name because I don't know what urgent care it was.
Was it Kaiser?
No,
UC Health?
I believe so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's surprising. Yeah, they usually have pretty good care.
I mean, that tells you how important it is to be an advocate for yourself, Dustin. And what I'm trying to imply by that is the fact that there are so many people in so many professions, and we witness it every single day. It doesn't matter what profession. You have those that are good at what they do, and you have those that aren't.
Yes.
You know, and when you're going into something that you don't know anything about, you're kind of at their mercy, right? It's not like you ordered a hamburger and go, well, this isn't the way I ordered it, right? You're sitting there at their mercy going,
Yeah.
well, they took an x-ray. You're the medical expert. What does it show? And when they go, well, I don't see anything in the x-ray, how do you argue that?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And man, as you get older and you learn those things and questions to ask and things to pursue and items to push and, just to continue to always be an advocate, and sometimes you're a pain in the ass to people, not meaning you. I know I sure am. When I don't know something, I
yeah.
just keep asking, like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Explain it. Why this? Why that? And yeah, so interesting to go down through that journey.
What's tough with that whole thing, though, Dave, is you got to trust the person. You trusted them to cut your foot off, and they didn't cut the wrong one off, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're telling somebody that they have a tumor in their brain or whatever, but yet on the other hand, you can't. You
Right.
can't trust that person, because what if they're the dude that really isn't good at what he does?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's catch-22.
when you're laying there in pre-op, you get about 4 or 5 different doctors will come in at separate times, and they'll sign their name on your leg that they're going to amputate. So they know which one it actually is when you go into the
You got four on one side and one on the other. Something ain't ended up here.
And do you think they figured that out because it's happened?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wrong leg off?
Absolutely.
I mean, think about it. We all expect more out of people in the medical field.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
our lives are in their hands. One thing, if I'm having a surgery and I might have to have another one on my neck, I would look for a board-certified doctor, because they've just gone above and beyond to become experts in their craft.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a driver here. Do you want the driver that just shows up, and if we're not teaching it to him or her, they're not going to know it?
Right.
Or do you want the driver that's actually going to maybe jump on YouTube or read a book about it, or try to perfect their craft and do a little bit extra?
Continuing to educate
Yeah,
themselves.
like in EMT school, like the passing grade, you got to get an 80 to even pass the course, which I think is higher than a lot of courses, right? But I mean, do you want the kid doing bare minimum to
Yeah.
come help you when you're in your worst moment? Or do you want somebody that put in the extra time and is striving to learn for excellence?
Yeah.
So same thing with the medical field. I remember my wife, she broke her toe, and the x-ray technicians or whoever reads it missed it. I don't know if she went to the hospital and they said it was all right. Well, at urgent care, the doctor or the PA looks at it and, well, there's the break right there. Like, how did they miss that? It's a hairline fracture, but it's just
Yeah.
every industry has good and bad.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
One of the things we ran into at Kaiser is no matter what doctor looks at that, they all read what the x-ray technician wrote. So if the x-ray technician wrote, I don't see a break, you could have 5 different doctors look at that. Unless they look at the x-ray and they verify, they're just reading what the technician wrote. And my wife and I, we ran into that a lot on some stuff with Jim and I's mom. And this was back at Kaiser days. She had back pain for like 2.5 years that they couldn't get rid of. And we went in and they're thinking, well, it could be in one of the hips. And Jim and I were to the point we went to the doctor's visit with her, And the doctor's sitting there and he's got his computer up and he's just scrolling through x-rays and he's just swiping them like it was Tinder or something. Man. Like swipe left, swipe left, right? And I'm like, whoa, what was that? And it was a picture of Evelyn's pelvis and the 2 hip bones in the pockets. And I said, would you mind going back to that? And he swipes back.
He smelt it.
Dude, he swipes back to it, and the one side, there's this big gray area in between the bone and the socket, and the other side, you could tell it was just bone on bone. There was no gray area in between. And I said, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at, but isn't that bone on bone? Won't that cause pain? Well, not in her back. And I'm like, well, she can't describe to you where the pain's at. If it's coming up through her hip, is that possible? And anyway, I said, we've exhausted all efforts. Jim and I sit there and go, is it possible she needs a hip? And man, you guys, that woman, she got the hip replaced a couple weeks later. She stood up like hours after surgery like they do now. Her pain was gone.
Wow.
Pain that she'd suffered through for years was gone. And I don't know if we hadn't have stopped that guy, if that would have ever happened.
You would think that they would want to fix those things because they make money.
Well,
doing that.
That's my thought too, Jim.
That would be like a mechanic. A car rolls in, he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to look. I might have to fix it."
Right. It's here for an oil change. That's all I'm going to do. It needs this, this, and this, but that's all I'm going to do.
He should have been more of a detective, just because she said it's in my back. He should have started asking more questions.
Oh,
yeah.
When you're in that doctor's office and they say, okay, is the pain a 1 or a 10?
Yeah.
Maybe for me it's a 3, but for that other guy it's a 9.
Right.
Or vice versa. It's like you need to ask more questions.
Yeah,
in a matter of months, this was a woman who walked miles a day. She'd been debilitated to walking with a cane. Mm-hmm. Hunched over, barely moving, and I'm like, this is not good. And
it's crazy.
To find that, and it's that, it's frustrating. I mean, right. I feel for you, Dustin. It's frustrating.
Yeah. The assessment that you're talking about, Super Dave, that's standard. Like the assessment that EMT does is the same thing as a doctor's going to do, and it's a head to toe assessment, which they call it sample history, and it's pretty standard to help you not miss stuff. And one of the things is, does the pain radiate anywhere? You know what I mean? And it's like that. You're right. I mean, the guy should have been better at what he does. Yeah. That's crazy.
That guy.
I got to back up because I do have a shout out. I have a shout out for Jam. When he said the word radiate, it made me think. We had a lot of activity yesterday morning.
It was an exciting morning.
911 was called. We had a driver that was having chest pains. And Tracy, they came up to dispatch. And Tracy immediately knew to grab Jam. Jam came in, started asking this driver all these questions, is where's the pain radiating from? Does it feel like your chest is being torn open? And the questions he was asking, I'm like, wow, this is like the real deal here, man. Like you can tell he's got some education on this. I'd be like, dude, you're going to be all right. 911, I think the ambulance is going to be here pretty soon.
Who's going to
be all right? Hey, we need to put somebody in 0050.
Yeah. So anyway, kudos to you, Jam. You did the right thing. Gave him aspirin, right out of the gate for any chest pain, possible heart attack situation. So I do have a shout out. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of our people.
Yeah,
good job,
got
Jam.
you. Yeah. So that's 11 weeks of training. But it's shout out to Tracy. I mean, his wife sent me a text yesterday, and she had mentioned Tracy and also MJ. So I don't know if MJ convinced him to come up to the office to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's possible.
So, but she was appreciative, and, I think is she a vet tech?
She is, yes.
So she knows a little bit about medicine, and she was like, immediate action is necessary, and you guys had it, and she wants to thank everybody.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But I'm just glad he was okay. It was so weird because 6 hours later, he walked in the front door, and I was just like,
right.
Well, hi.
Yeah.
How you doing? So it ended up not being as serious, which is great.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
I'm just glad he's going to be okay, So
for sure.
Yeah.
He was operated on by Dr. McCoy. Okay, you're good to go.
Wow.
You even know who that is?
Nope.
I do, Dave.
Good.
Yes.
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, seriously? Dustin, I can see you're young enough. Jam, you're You're not young
I'm
enough.
young enough.
Yeah, it depends on where your interests lie. I was a Star Trek freak. And
Oh, that's why.
Oh, yeah, nerd.
Bones.
You play Dungeons and Dragons too?
Whenever something was wrong, he just took his little lighted, little cigarette lighter thing.
That's exactly what looked at his little tricorder or whatever.
Yeah, boom, you're good.
Oh, funny. Guess we're the
Yeah.
only geeks, Dave.
I guess.
It's so weird. Like, to this day, I'm just not sci-fi at all. Like,
Yeah.
I have trouble with Star Wars even. You know what I mean? Grogu
So
and
do I.
all that Mandalorian stuff. I mean, Bella is like a Grogu fanatic. You know what I mean? Whatever.
You were right, yeah, Grogu.
Baby Yoda. You know, but yeah, Star Trek. I was like, not watching that. I'll watch the A-Team. You know, Chips, The Incredible Hulk. You know, like Star Wars. I'm like, I'm out. So, well, Dustin, once again, man, it's great to have you here, and please chime in quite a bit during this podcast.
Awesome. Thank
Dustin,
you guys.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any different thoughts for our veterans? You know, that men and women that have been injured in the line, or any person in the line of duty, right? Whether it's military or Blue Stripe or anything like that. Because those people that have lost limbs didn't have the choice to say, "Hey, yeah, let's make this decision." It just happened.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not a tough decision then, huh?
Right? Yeah. I guess I'm not even asking you a question, really, Dustin. I mean, it just, to me, brings it full circle that you had a choice to a degree. I mean, I don't really feel you kind of did, but you did.
Yes.
You know, where those guys are just out there defending our country at the heart of it, you know, on foreign soil and land, and wow, you know.
So my prosthesis guy had a guy that was a double amputee, and he was either Army Ranger or Navy SEAL, and he got a double amputee, but he wanted to go back to duty and do another tour, and he went and did a tour with 2 prosthetic legs.
Wow.
Like
And
on the front
also-
lines?
What's that?
Like on the front lines and
Yes,
battling?
actually in the battle.
You have to get, you have to pass their
Oh, yeah.
tests for
like
that.
an
Yeah,
agility
absolutely.
test, a
Yeah.
physical exam, the whole
Yeah.
9 yards. Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys remember the officer that got ran over at the parade for the Denver Nuggets that had to get his
Sure.
leg amputated.
Yep.
He was a SWAT officer. He goes to the same place that I go to.
Wow.
And just seeing his story on TV and stuff, and asking around the Hanger Clinic, that's where I go. He is a pretty cool guy. Like, he is very upbeat, very positive, and I guess he's really super easy to talk to, and I would like to get a chance to talk
Yeah.
to him one day.
Yeah.
Is he still a cop?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, those kinds of folks are natural therapists, and because of their attitude and their energy, they can help so many people.
Yeah,
you know?
and what also inspired me was there's a guy that lives down the street that is a veteran. He had his leg amputated from the Army about 10 years ago. And I seen him and his wife would walk by every day. I'd be sitting at my front door. That's what I would do in my wheelchair and watch like the traffic drive by. I wouldn't watch TV. I would just sit there and stare at the nature all day long. And I would see the different people walk by. And finally I got up enough nerve to ask this guy about his prosthetic leg. And he was so grateful that I asked. And I was like,
Nice.
You're a big inspiration to me, seeing you walk past every day with this prosthetic leg. And he went through the ups and downs with me, and we're on text messages with each other. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more people have prosthetics than you think.
I bet, Dustin. I bet.
Yeah. And a shout out to Hanger Clinic, my prosthesis, Jason Griffin. He is one of the best that, well, I know. Well, the only one I know, but
Right.
he, like, with the fitment of my prosthetic, it should never hurt. Like, your leg should never hurt in your prosthetic. And there's 2 weeks ago where I could not walk at all. Like, because my shin bone was just hitting my prosthetic, and it was just, it's very painful. And it was the type of socks I wear. So I have to put on different socks as my leg shrinks down during the day to keep the void in there, so my leg doesn't bang around in there.
Sure.
So he gave me a shorter sock, and it was a night and day difference. Like, because up around my knee, it was just so with all those socks, it was just so massive, and it was like putting a strain on everything, and I wasn't really getting it down to where I needed it. And now it's it's pretty much, it's getting dialed in.
That's awesome.
And
That
so
is.
tomorrow I go get casted for another carbon fiber upper leg. So
Wow, that's awesome.
because I've lost so much in my mass in my leg, just keeps shrinking.
That's great, man.
Yeah, so I'm just super grateful for everybody, and yeah, it's been a journey, but I can actually say it's been a fun journey.
Hindsight.
Yeah, if you can believe that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you may have learned some real value. You said it earlier. You've learned some valuable things for this. So
I think
Absolutely.
you learned a lot about yourself and a lot about life in general.
Yeah, that's for
Right?
sure, Soup.
Perspective.
Yep.
Yep.
Brother Dave, you want to talk about following distance?
I do. How much do we need? How much following distance do we need? How
I
much
like-
following distance should we
Depends
have?
on how fast you're going.
I like 4 seconds at 55.
I like 6 seconds at
I was
5
gonna
miles an
say.
hour.
I was gonna say 6 to 7.
You know, that's
seconds.
the Cadillacing way, Dave. You know, when you're going in stop and go traffic and you see that truck that's left an entire truck length between him and the car, he doesn't have to touch his brake. He can just
Right.
chill.
Right.
Instead of that guy that's on the car's butt because he doesn't want anybody to get in front of him, and so he's braking and accelerating and braking. So that's not the way to do it.
It's so funny. I found myself coming to work this morning on 270 there, and wasn't prepared for the construction, and I had a tanker next to me, and it was the craziest thing, Dave. We both had like a tractor trailer or 2 tractor trailer links in front of us. It was almost like we were like
Doing a
being
little old-fashioned
jerks.
traffic
Yeah,
control.
and we really weren't. It was just nice to like hold that speed. You know what I mean? You were just
Exactly.
like 8 miles an hour, right? Instead of rush up and stop, rush up and stop, rush up and stop. It was funny just approaching that. I watched a guy and he changed lanes 3 times.
Oh,
And I'm like,
man.
Dude, and it was an aggressive lane change, like off to the side, off to the side, off
That's
to
so
the side.
important.
Was that
That's so
before
important.
or
That's
after
so
the-
important.
The right lane sign? Because there was a sign that said right lane closed.
You know, I didn't pay attention, Dave. It was before. It was prior to, because we were backed up a long ways before the
okay.
signs. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
got
for
worse
sure.
than when you
Yeah.
came in. I was a little earlier.
Yeah,
But,
and then it lifted. They had just opened the right lane before I got
yeah, they
there.
were picking up the
Yeah.
codes when I came in.
Yeah.
But
So funny. I hit all that, and I'm like, I was about to voice text everybody. I'm like, well, I know Dave and Dave are going to go through here. Like,
right?
you know, you already here. You know, 'cause
yeah,
your
I
interview.
had
Orientation.
Lindsay starting, so I was here a little early.
Yeah. Good
Well-
stuff, though. So following distance, though, yeah, I mean, minimum 4 seconds at 55.
Yep.
And you know, if you don't know how to figure that out, find a non-moving point when you pass it, like a mile marker, or you know, you have to find a stationary object that you pass, following the vehicle you're behind, and count 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, and that's kind of the minimum. Our cameras aren't going to talk to you unless you're under 2 seconds, which
Yeah,
isn't that right, Jim?
1.5 seconds
Yeah.
at 45, right?
for over 30 seconds.
Yes.
Oh, that's the hiccup.
That's
yeah.
it, yep.
Yeah, you have to be at that distance for over 30 seconds, which a lot can happen in that time.
Well,
yeah.
think about it too. I mean, we're getting more and more and more of our newer trucks. They have the accident avoidance system. Will catch you and brake
Right.
before the camera.
Yeah,
Not always.
yeah. Not always.
But
Yeah, 4 seconds. 4 seconds. So, like some of the drivers that aren't used to that, they feel like, you know, 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds. Man, I got plenty of distance. Like
Right.
I'm not too close. I'm not too close. And it's like 4 seconds may seem like a giant gap, but that's what you need.
Right.
That's what you need if you want to be safe.
Right.
You know, and it really upsets me that Samsara can only go to 1.5 seconds or below. I don't think it's 2 seconds, Dave. I thought it's 1.5.
I just
Either
said
way.
under.
It's
I
one
just
and a
said
half, Jam. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
way.
I just said under 2 seconds.
Yeah, either
So
1.5
it's
or
1.5
2.
or 2. Yeah.
It's still not enough. So if you're getting an alert at 1.5 or 2 seconds, keep in mind you should be twice as far away.
right. It's a problem if you're
Right.
getting an alert.
Yeah.
Right. That's a problem.
It is an issue.
Yeah.
Think about a graphic of stopping distances. A bar graph, for instance, how long it takes you to stop at 30 miles an hour, and then
Right.
again at 50.
Right.
And I mean, the distances are huge. This is a little off subject, but I was reading a thing about the bridge, the cargo ship and the bridge,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
over in Baltimore. It takes, so they were talking about if that ship was to drop anchor because it was not powered, it had lost engine, right? And I thought, well, why didn't he just drop the anchor? You know how long it would take for that ship to stop if he dropped the anchor?
Oh, like a mile
'Cause it
and a
was-
half or
yeah,
something, right?
it was
Yeah.
like 200,000 tons or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It would have taken, what did it say? Like 8,000 feet. And he was already within a couple hundred feet of the
Right.
bridge.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, the same physics apply to our trucks,
Right.
I had one of the first trucks that had the accident mitigation system in it,
You did.
and it actually taught me how to drive better. Just because you didn't want to listen to your truck beeping at you all day. Like, just back off a little bit. It's way better.
I bet you lost loads too, didn't you, Dustin?
No. No, I didn't.
Of course not.
You always hear the stopping distance, and I always relate stopping distance to following distance, or for me the two they go hand in hand. They're just related, right? They're not the same,
Right.
But for me, they go hand in hand. And just a quick glance here, it says trucks need more time to stop. In comparison, a fully loaded tractor trailer weighing 80,000 pounds, traveling under ideal conditions at 65 miles an hour will take 525 feet to stop, almost the length of 2 football fields. Right? 2 football fields. When I think of 2 football fields, but yet I'm only, 75 feet behind the car I'm following at 70 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour, but it's going to take me almost 2 football fields to stop. That's some crazy information right there. Those are the 2 relative parts, right? Even 4 seconds isn't enough, but at least maybe you have an option of an out, or, you're always supposed to have an out when you're driving, no matter what lane you're in, no matter what you're doing. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in, I've got to go, I've got to get over in front of this person, I got to change lanes. You're not focused on the safety aspect of it. You're not focused on this aspect of it or any other part of it. So yeah, following distance is just huge. It is huge. And boy, can it eliminate a hiccup, right? A problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in the last couple of weeks, these huge accidents that have been in court where these people were in stop traffic and these trucks come up behind them and just mow them down.
Right.
Like, that's the driver's fault.
100%. Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the video we sent out with the 5-second. What's the name of it? 5 seconds?
No,
8
seconds. Sorry, 8 seconds. Yeah.
One fatal distraction.
Yeah, 8 seconds, one fatal distraction. So I mean, wow.
Just so everybody knows, if you haven't watched the video, it involves the phone.
Right.
You know.
Distracted driving.
So sad.
Yeah.
Every single time. That's like 95% of most accidents. People have a phone in their hand.
Right. Right.
The reason we bring up the following distance is we did just recently have an accident where if the driver was using, space cushion driving where you had, proper speed, proper space, left yourself an out, if you were aiming high and steering and saw ahead of you what was going on, that accident was avoidable. Ultimately, it was, officially not our driver's fault. The other driver was cited. I just got an email from the state trooper stating that. But, just because the accident's not your fault doesn't mean it wasn't avoidable. And that's what we got to think about.
Absolutely.
Think about all the things that come with an accident, even if you had the right of way, or were right or wrong, whatever. But avoidable is avoidable.
Right.
Yeah.
Put that in a financial situation. You know what I mean? The financial burden caused by this accident, when it's possible a couple seconds could have avoided it.
Right.
Right. So think about the cost of that couple seconds. It's a couple seconds. It didn't cost you anything.
Time and money.
Right. And then you think about the time we spent on the road that day. Driver didn't make any income that day. Went home after the accident. Right. No income there. Our truck is going to be down, I don't know, probably a better part of a week and a half. There's no income there from the truck running. So just the financial burden of that, when you could avoid it in a few seconds, those are the things that, as you mature as a driver, as you gain more education in what we do, gain more just experience, right? Those are the things that make you a professional.
Yep.
And it's here we are talking about that again. What level driver do you want to be? When we were talking about your surgeon or the doctor that misdiagnosed your foot, Dustin, or whatever the case may be. I relate it as simple as that guy making the hamburger at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
You want the guy that enjoys what he does and he wants to make a good burger, or the guy that he's just there making a burger, right? He doesn't care.
Right.
So,
yeah. This driver was open to criticism, I guess you could call it. So that went well. We're always looking to make people better. So as long as we're learning from our mishaps, then to me it could be a win.
And hopefully other people can learn from the mishaps. That's the key here, right?
Yeah, spread the word.
Yeah, to talk about this is to educate other drivers, not to make fun or tease the driver that was in that accident. It's how do we get everybody to understand that the seriousness, the gravity of what happened.
Yeah, if I remember your quote correctly, I'm going to quote you. Check this out. Hopefully I don't screw it up. But at the beginning, when we used to have safety committee meetings once a week on Fridays for the drivers that were involved in an accident the week before, up until even the day before, right? And Brother Dave used to be at all those meetings, and he would kick off the meeting saying, hey, the purpose of this meeting isn't to point fingers or ridicule. It's to, learn from our mistakes, see what we could have done different, and spread the word, right? I'd rather learn from your mistake than from my mistake.
Absolutely, Jim.
Didn't you used to talk about that with Jim's Mustang or whatever car that was?
I've told the story so many times, I feel like it's old habit, but I can tell it again if you guys want it, to learn from someone else's mistake. And Brother Jim knows I love him dearly, man, but we're 5 years apart, right? So when I was in junior high walking to school, or maybe even he may have had his license. I think he had his license when I was at the end of grade school. Well, he was going to be my ride, so I didn't have to walk to school, right? And Dad made a deal with us. You get your car, I'll provide it for you. You have to keep a B average and either have a job after school or play a sport. Jim played sports, so he didn't have a job after school. And he got his car. And that first report card came out
because he knew his job would be busting tires down here.
Right? Well, he's good. He's pretty athletic. He's pretty
he
good
did
at
that
sports,
too,
so
right?
Yeah. But anyway, that first report card come out, and I don't remember if he just had one D on there or more or whatever. Anyway, it wasn't a B average.
Senior wasn't having it.
Senior wasn't having it. Senior told you something, that's how it was going to be. He held his end of the bargain up. If you didn't, that was your fault. And that's where you learn. These are things that are our youth. They need to learn that, like, if something is said, parents need to follow through with it, whether it's hard on them or not. You know what I mean?
100%.
And that I didn't know until Jen and I had Sam. I had no idea tough love was from the parent, on the parent, not the kid.
Right.
Hell, it's easy on the kid. That tough love is hard on the parent when the kid's crying or something, and you're like, oh, this sucks. And, well, it's not that bad, and you go back on you can't go back on your word. You got to do that. So make a long story short, Dad took the car, and he didn't take it for a week. He didn't take it for half the semester or half the quarter. He took it for all 9 weeks till that next report card come out.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So every day, both Jim and I walked past that car on our way to walk to school. And I learned right then and there. I just learned something from that mistake because it was pretty good odds I was going to get a car when I turned 16. Right. And I knew what bargain needed to be held. You know what I mean? And knock on wood, I did it. It wasn't easy, but I did it. So, yeah. So there you go. You can learn from others' mistakes, right?
Yeah. I hear you on that tough love, though, because if we got a ground Bella, it's like we're grounded, too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, now we can't do something as a family. Like, that sucks.
Right?
You know?
Yeah, so that's like one of my most famous things that I tell Dustin. I'd be like, you have been with me for 20 years now, and you've seen every mistake that I've done in my life. I want you to learn from all my mistakes.
Yep. Don't go to that urgent care in Thornton.
Yeah.
Dustin, I have a better saying for you than that.
Okay.
Dad just always looked at us and said, do what I say, not what I do.
Oh, that has came out of my mouth before.
I tell Sam that when I might or might not make a turn on a left red arrow.
Close your eyes, son.
Well, we're not
Right?
supposed to be doing this, but
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have anything else on that accident?
I don't, Jam. I mean, just you tagged it, speed, space, following distance, all of those, space cushion, all
Situational
of that.
awareness.
Every
Yeah.
bit, yeah.
Give it a good thought.
Looking as far
What's gonna
down that
happen.
road as you can see. That's what's key in the truck. When I learned to drive my car, it was nothing compared to the following distance you need in a truck.
Right. Yeah, when you say looking ahead, that we talk about having a 15-second eye lead time, right? You want to look 15 seconds ahead. So the same way you'll count your following distance, when a vehicle in front of you passes a stationary object, you'll count in seconds, 1001, 1002. Same thing with your eye lead time. You could look ahead at something and start counting, see how long it takes you to get there, and that'll give you a sense of how far you should be looking ahead.
Absolutely.
see, and I think also it's the type of truck too. You get so focused on how long your hood is on that Peterbilt, and that's all you see is the front of that hood, and you're focused on that. Then you're like looking up, trying to look ahead, but it's just drawing you into this big shiny red hood and a
We should
chrome
chop them
grill.
off.
I actually brought that up, Dustin, in that particular truck versus the majority of the rest of our trucks. And
Yeah.
I kind of did the comparison. The handful of trucks we have like that, they're almost like a fighter jet. And what I mean by that is you got this big long hood out in front of you. You have these two little windows you're looking out of, barely little side windows. The cab's pretty confined. I just did the comparison to a fighter jet where you take the rest of the cabs, it's like a big RV.
Yeah.
Right? You can almost get up and walk to the other side of the cab and roll down the window or adjust the mirror and walk back over. You couldn't do that in one of the other trucks, and you have a one-piece windshield that's huge. The hood isn't in your way at all. Big side windows. It's just more open. You have this vision difference, and I did that comparison like, wow, could that have been a possible option here?
Yeah, I went.
Or an issue, I should say.
I remember going from my Freightliner into the Peterbilt and being able to reach across the Peterbilt and shut the passenger door.
Right.
In the Freightliner, you had to get up out of your seat and reach over.
Yeah, and you
close
could
it.
literally do that. You could get up and walk over to the other side.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we can move on to the next accident that we had down at Union.
Not good.
Nah, wasn't good at all. Luckily, the damage, I guess in the grand scheme of things, the damage was somewhat minimum, but Chris spent the whole day yesterday fixing that tailgate. So
Yeah.
it wasn't free, that's for
Right.
sure.
And we haven't gotten
He did a really good job too.
and we haven't gotten to the fender yet.
Right.
So
Yep. So keeps on going. But we had a driver dump some, I believe that is rock over there, and then was swinging around to face west, parallel to Union, and he just cut it too close and clipped another trailer. So JFW on JFW crime, trailer on trailer. And it was so weird the way he did it. I think we decided because the tailgate was blocked open, when he hit the tailgate, he tweaked it where we couldn't even get the tailgate shut. It was flush on one side, and then probably a 6-inch gap on the other side. It was jacked up. Turns out the weld on the top right of that tailgate completely cracked through. So another unnecessary avoidable accident.
100% avoidable.
Yep.
How do we avoid those?
Got to pay more attention in that case.
Got to beware of your swing too.
Got to beware. Yeah, you got to remember you have a trailer behind you that tracks, right?
Absolutely.
Both these accidents that we're talking about, neither one of the drivers was distracted by the phone, which I'm going to say is good, but that's doing your job.
It's
like,
still
that's
good.
what you're supposed to do, is stay off the phone. But you could be distracted by anything. You could be distracted
Absolutely.
by a sign, a person, a bird, whatever. You could just be looking forward at where you're looking ahead, but if you're thinking about something, you can be in a complete daze and not paying attention. So to me, it all just comes down to paying attention and not being complacent, and you got to just keep your head on a swivel and realize, what's at stake, and it's life and limb and property, really.
It is. Yeah, I guess I want to just dig into the weeds a little more, Jim,
Do it.
or actually like dive in. And I guess my point is, we say, well, your head needs to be on a swivel. What does that mean?
You constantly.
Means you're gonna have a sore neck.
Means you're doing this.
It means when you're maneuvering in a site like that, any site, a pit, a plant, dump site, load site, whatever, you can't just be looking at one thing while you're moving. You need to be looking in your mirrors. You need to be looking behind you. You need to be looking out the front window. You need to glance out the back window. You need to be looking in both mirrors. So many times we've had accidents in the yard where we're backing up to park and we have it on camera. I mean, it's a thing. It's become a habit for some people. They will only look in one mirror while they're backing up.
Yeah.
Instead of both mirrors, and when we use the term head on a swivel, you need to be identifying those mirrors constantly. If you're moving, you need to be looking in both mirrors. And I was sitting here when you were talking about pulling forward, Jam, and that the trailer was following him and we hit the other trailer while a driver was in it sweeping out.
Right.
That's even scarier,
Yeah.
right? If that driver could have been on the ground or something like that, or had his arm in the tailgate sweeping off the back, or
Right.
I mean, it could have been bad,
Yeah.
right? It could have been bad.
Yeah,
And
and just to paint even a worse picture, what if the driver was just standing at the corner of that trailer, right? Trailers are silent. The tractors make a lot of noise coming
Right.
by, but trailers, they don't make any noise.
Right.
And what if he got pinched in between those two trailers?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I
Jim.
mean, that's death.
So I guess my point is, you're pulling something that is always following you. And I was trying to think of some neat cliche, like you just robbed a bank and you got to be looking over your shoulder because the cops are coming after you, or something like that, right? What's a neat cliche that we could deem that with? Because how many accidents have we had where we're pulling something 35 feet behind us and we constantly hit things when we turn? And I'm kind of dumbfounded by that when we have these giant mirrors on both sides. We have all of this information that we know to look. We've been trained to look. We're taught to look. But we're not.
Yep.
So I guess when I hear the term head on a swivel, I want it clearer. I want it more defined. What does that mean? Well, that's what that means. You need to look in both mirrors. You need to see where that trailer is tracking behind you. You need to be sure when you turn in, it's going to clear the ditch, or it's going to clear the fence, or it's going to clear the mailbox, or it's going to clear whatever. So I guess, just a few things on that. We need to be better about that, especially as a professional.
And don't,
Absolutely.
And don't just go through the motions. And what I mean by that is, like, if you talk to a driver, you watch him dump, and they're like, part of my dumping procedure is to look in the back at the back window.
Right.
And they're just doing this. Like, well, what are you actually looking at? Like,
That's my point, Jim.
Just facing the back, looking out the window, isn't looking out the back window. What are you
Right.
looking at? You're just watching your trailer go up in the air in your peripheral vision?
Right.
Or are you actually paying attention to the way the trailer is coming out of the saddle?
Yeah.
Are you paying attention to where your hoist is at? When you do a pre-trip, right, and you're walking around the truck, are you actually looking at things, or are you just walking around the truck? Don't just go through the motions. Investigate.
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy there, Jim. When people say, have your head on a swivel, it really means paying attention.
Right.
Paying attention to your surroundings, to movement, to your own truck and trailer, to the cars. I mean, it just basically
Is
comes
my
down
trailer
to
going
pay
to
attention.
clear the object I need to get it past?
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're making a maneuver and you're like, oh, shoot, I'm not going to make it.
Right.
And you got to pull up
Yeah.
or back up or
Yeah,
whatever,
totally.
Yeah, so-
paying attention.
I've been going through this kind of situation at home because we're teaching Olivia how to drive. And so Tabitha took Olivia out and just around the block and stuff. So I took her out and I actually made her like back into parking spots and stuff like that. And what I noticed with the kids, when the backup camera comes on, they're asphyxiated on that little screen. And I'm like, you have 2 mirrors to look in.
Right.
And plus, the way you swung out in this empty parking lot, if cars were right here, you just wiped out 10 cars. I'm like,
Right.
look in your mirrors. You keep your head on a swivel.
I mean, those backup cameras, they screw me up. Like, I'll look at it to make sure there's not like a toddler behind me. But if I try to back using that thing, it's just like,
Where are you where there's toddlers behind you?
never know. You know what I mean? You just, whatever, a dog or a cat
Yeah.
or a person or a wheelchair or, I don't know. It's just, I'm not good with the camera.
Absolutely.
It's a distraction almost. That's just for me.
I think it should just be another tool that you have
Yes.
the ability to use.
Yeah.
I think you should still look out the back window. I think you should still look in the mirrors. I think you should still use that camera.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's just another mirror. It's another tool to use. Use the tools you've been given.
In firearms training, you would start seeing people like they would do their drill, and then they look over the shoulder to the right, and they look over the shoulder to the left, right, to like make sure there's no other threats. But they're training to just look over their shoulder. So like, unless you have, like, I saw this one trainer, he would stand back there and he'd have his fingers up. And if you're doing that and you can't tell him how many fingers he held up, you're not looking at anything. You're not
Gotcha.
paying attention.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, you're like, oh, I'm gonna look here. I'm gonna look here. But
Your head's on a swivel,
Yeah.
but it's not swiveling at what it
yeah,
needs to see.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect.
Good point.
Not paying attention.
Nope. All right. Anything else on that, guys?
I think that's it.
All right. JR wanted to go over this. He said, can you please go over when and when not to use overweight permits in the podcast? Just last week, 5 drivers ran on the interstate just over 85,000 pounds. If you can remind them of our policies and what happens, safety bonus disqualification and 30-day loss of overweight permit if you are caught running heavy. Well, JR, you just explained it, so thank you. But we'll dive into it a little bit more, right? You can absolutely not run. First of all, the law on the interstate is 80,000 pounds, right? If you go over that, you are breaking the law. JFW has a little bit of leeway where, you know, you may be forgiven for running a little bit over that. But if you're asking for 85,000 pounds to go down the interstate all day long, and then you go over that and you get a ticket for it, well, guess what? That is on you.
That is on
You know, we're a little lenient for, you know, the loader operator put a little bit too much in you. You got a little bit too much under the bin. This one load. But if you're trying to max out at 85 because you think you could go down the interstate under 85,000, well, guess what? That has nothing to even do with your heavy permit.
Right.
Right? Because you can't use a heavy permit on the interstate anyway. So going over 85,000 on the interstate, that just tells us you are not responsible enough to have the privilege of having an overweight permit because you're not following the laws without the permit. So, you know, if that happens, it is a disqualification of safety bonus, which nowadays could be $1,250, right? And then you're also going to lose your overweight permit for 30 days. So grabbing that extra ton or two and, you know, pushing the line on the interstate, it's just not worth it.
Absolutely.
So,
And our point behind giving you that 80,000 pound grace, just like you said, Jam, if you're 80,500 or 81,000 even, it's not worth going back and dumping that 1,000 pounds off to get legal, unless you're going through a port or, you know, some known issue, right, that everyone's talking about for the morning. If you have the one load that's that, roll with it. We're okay with that, right?
And you know what's crazy about that? You load 85 at a pit, but you load it right off the bat in the morning. You don't know that they're setting up at the Mile High Stadium or something like that, and you're going down the highway, and guess what? All of a sudden, you're stuck right there.
yeah. Yeah, we're empty. There's some jelly beans. Let's see. This one's yours, Brother Dave. You might as well take it. Yep.
I was excited about it. We actually got some great news last week. I know I guess here I'll throw another shout out since we didn't talk about it last week. The safety team, I'll say the safety team, Jam, Kendrick, Casey, JR, Scooby, everybody got together, and I asked that they talk to everyone about the oil and gas ban that was being pushed at the Capitol last week, and they were really trying to make a go, and it was 100% ban by 2030. So in 5.5 years, there would be zero oil and gas drilling going on in Colorado. I was just at a meeting. I was at the Colorado Assembly in Greeley Saturday for the Republican Party. Greeley, or Weld County, is number 3 in the nation in oil and gas production. Number 3 in the nation.
Wow.
Did you know they're number 5 in the nation in agriculture?
I didn't know that.
I mean, Weld County, they have zero debt. They pay cash for everything. It's just,
I love it.
Weld County, it's just, it rocks. I mean, they're a business model, right? And they use the taxes and income from oil and gas. That supports 300,000 people. It's 10% of Colorado's gross domestic profit. Wow. It's about $46 billion income to the state. And these people just want to end it. And I guess I'm to the point with climate change. Everybody's just climate change, climate change, climate change. At a certain point, we're there in America. We've achieved that point where we can't do more. It's up to the other nations, the other countries, the other places in the world to step up and do what we've done. Because at a certain point, you have these groups called earth justice, social justice, climate justice, all these justices that are radicals, activists, fighting against business like ours, industry, things like that. At a certain point, we need economic justice.
Correct.
We have to be able to work and survive and provide a living for our families. And gas and oil isn't going away. We can't go electric. It's not possible yet.
Yeah.
So we need to do better on that. We need to push back a little bit. I'm not saying I want dirty air, and there's some challenges here in Colorado because our geographic location, but here's the deal. The safety team went out. They got with every single person via a text or via an email, and they sent, it was just a canned response to all the legislators that were on that bill that were trying to pass it, and blew them out of the water. Not just JFW, but you guys probably saw, if you watch TV, all the commercials against it, how it affects our state, how it affects the economy. And I guess I felt so happy that we actually beat this. It was, I literally, when I heard about it last week, I wanted to send an email out to everyone, but I guess I just wanted to give everyone a pat on the back, vocally here on the podcast that's listening, that this is how things should work. These legislators didn't come to us and go, hey, we think this is a good idea. What do you think? They just think it on their own. Right? It's their agenda. It's their policy. It's what they want. It's not what we, the people, want. And they need to start listening to we, the people. So I want to thank everyone who was involved. If I'm ballparking it here, but if we have on average 150 employees, I think these guys tracked down 150 people and sent 150 emails to our legislators, and that's what they need. Yeah. They needed to hear that. So I am just so thankful that it bombed. Even 2 Democrats voted against it there at the Capitol because they basically admitted that, well, apparently this isn't what the state wants.
Right.
Even though that's what we're saying we need, it's not what our people need. So yeah. I just felt so great about that. I'm so thankful everybody was able to come together and believe in that. I think everyone here does believe we want clean air. I don't know a person alive that doesn't. But again, we have some geographical issues that cause our attainment a little more trouble than Wyoming or Nebraska or Kansas, because Denver's a bowl.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Wyoming, it all just blows away.
Yeah. As it's blowing south through here, Jam, it settles in Denver because it's a low spot. I mean, it's how things work, right?
Yeah, it felt good to win one because a lot of times we fight for these things and we believe in them so much.
Right.
Then it's just like, womp womp. Not this time, guys.
Exactly.
Good fight, though.
Yeah.
You only want to hear good fight so many times until you won the fight. You know
right.
What I mean? So,
right. I think if the oil and gas industry wasn't so big and so powerful, I think it would have passed again, Jam. And I just thought every time I opened, my Facebook page or my YouTube or any type of social media, there was that link on there. And I'm sure people got it on their own before they even talked to us, but did they sign up for it? And when I say sign up, you just had to put your name, your email on that letter. It was a canned letter response that's sent to those legislators. And, I hope more people start getting engaged. Yeah. We just need more people to understand what's going on here.
No doubt.
Thank you, everyone.
Soup, you want to talk about the slow-ups and traffic jams?
We've talked about that for years and years, Jam, because you drive around this town for long enough, you know where the slowdowns are at what time of day. They're in the same places every day at the same times. We have to teach that to the new drivers that haven't been here as long as we have. They don't know that it stops on I-25 at 120th. Back 20 years ago, it didn't stop till you were down to 84th Avenue. Right. But either way, if that dude that came down the mountain with his brakes smoking 3 years ago or 4 years ago and knew that traffic stopped at Denver West every day, he wouldn't have had that accident. So we need to spread the word when we know of a slowdown. Sometimes, too, even if it's a slowdown because of an irregular construction area, spread the word. Get on that company radio because it's so important. If you're, driving down the road in La La Land and the next thing you know, traffic stops, we need to know about that so we aren't the cause of a wreck. But be aware of all of the regular slowdowns that happen in the regular places every day at certain times a day.
Yeah. I-70 westbound at Kipling, 3 o'clock.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. I mean, there's just those areas.
Yeah.
So
we got the Road Check 2024 coming up May 14th through the 16th. Everybody knows what that means. Dustin, have you ever experienced one of those road checks?
I have experienced the road checks. It's just being prepared, having all your ducks in a row.
I love it.
Yeah, that's all that is. Just make sure, go through your book in your truck, make sure your insurance card's in there, your everything. Mm-hmm. Even people go through there with an expired driver's license or something, or an expired medical card.
Right.
I know at JFW we don't let that happen, like the medical card expire or anything like that. We always get a warning before.
We do have things in place right now to help try to mitigate that. Also, don't forget to check your trailer registration. A lot of times those caps fall off those tubes or your registration gets out of there, and we've gotten that phone call a few times.
Know where your inspection stickers are.
Right.
Yeah. Sounds like you're saying being an expert at your craft is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
That's right. Hey, when you do have to take your trailer registration out, maybe for an inspection, please put it back in the tube.
Yep.
Don't put it in your permit book in the cab, because then you're going to forget about it, and then maybe your trailer is going to get switched out because it needs repairs, and then maybe somebody else is going to hook up to it, and they won't even have a registration for it.
Yep.
So please put it back.
Yeah, it's a standard. I mean, if everyone thinks that's where it's going to be as a standard and then it's not there. I mean, remember when we went to that accident, Brother Dave, and we couldn't find a registration or something because it was behind the guy's seat?
Didn't even know that spot existed, Jay.
Yeah, like how did you figure out to put that there?
Right.
I knew about that because I have to look for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing the IFTA stickers and registrations and stuff. And yes, there is a pocket behind that driver's seat.
Oh, you should take that out. You should write the time down. Take that out right now.
Tomorrow, all the registrations.
It's like, why do you put it there? So nobody else can find it.
Right? I didn't want anybody to take it. Oh, good.
Amber wants to remind everyone in the shop to make sure you're filling out. Oh, okay. Yeah. Everyone in the shop, make sure you're filling out 2 yellow Vestis repair cards anytime you have an issue with uniforms. Yeah, I'm so used to drivers. This is actually for the shop.
Right.
Okay, so you got torn pants or a shirt pocket torn.
Button missing,
anything. Whatever it is. Fill out 2 cards. You usually put one of them on the item of the clothing needing to be fixed, which is correct, and please continue to do so. But please fill out 2 now. I will need to get a second copy so I can make sure all of this is documented and make sure they have corrected the concerns you have. If you have any issues at all, or if there's anything you can possibly think of that has been or is a concern, please report that to Joanne or Amber. We appreciate all of your help with this. Thank you, guys. Also, Joanne says if you don't want to fill out 2 cards, you could just make a copy of the tag, and we'll get that to her, right? So basically, we got to make sure the uniform company's doing what they say they're going to do. If you got something that's being repaired and you just fill out 1 card, we don't have any proof that you filled that out. So it's just to cover our bases and our aces.
Bases and aces?
Yeah. And then Kathy, she says the BOL, the bill of lading and scale tickets need to be uploaded the same day of delivery, if possible, not 1 or 2 days later. We invoice cores the next day, and we need the paperwork uploaded in order to do this. We need both documents, not just one. Some drivers only upload 1 document. Also, to turn in the hard copies daily, not 1 or 2 days later. Sometimes longer than 2 days. I've been texting some drivers more than I need to in regards to these issues. And we get busier, this will be very taxing to deal with, so I'm hoping we could address it now. Lastly, we need good, clear copies uploaded. We send this paperwork to court, so they need to be able to read it. So yeah, basically, take care of your paperwork every day. There's no reason to wait a few days to turn that stuff in. That's how we all make money. You know, if you weren't going to get paid, you know, because you're turning your paperwork late, you probably want to get that in as soon as possible. To me, the job's not done until the paperwork's turned in.
Mm-hmm. You weren't trained that way.
Yeah.
No.
You were trained to do it this way, do it this way.
There's
right?
in a few days or more, like I could see maybe if you got in late, you know what I mean, and your paperwork wasn't super squared away, maybe you push it to the next day. But to be 2 or 3 days late or a week late, it's just unacceptable.
I mean, Jim, my thing is if you can't remember to do it today, how are you going to remember to do it tomorrow?
I agree.
Right? I got to button up today's work before I can worry about tomorrow's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've said this for years and years. Those tickets are your paycheck. And if you don't register them and catalog them, and then maybe your paycheck could be 2 or 3 days late.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
well, it won't be, Dave.
I know, but that's the example.
We don't have that luxury. Yeah.
That's the example. Keep that in mind.
Might be 2 or 3 loads short if you didn't upload your tickets, you know?
I had a boss taught me a long time ago. This was when I worked in a marina, and I was a quote-unquote mechanic, and the shop foreman taught me to take things as far as you could take them now. You know, if you're waiting on this part, it doesn't mean you need to wait to do the whole job. The paperwork gets done, everything gets done in that moment. So when I was a driver here, you know, I would fuel my truck at night. Yeah, you know what? I might have to wait in line a little bit longer, but my paperwork was turned in, the truck was fueled, everything was taken care of. This way, when I rolled in the next morning, there's nothing to do except for go trucking. So, to your point, Brother Dave, get the paperwork done today, because tomorrow it's just going to be more. What if you have more paperwork to do?
Right.
That's how you get behind. That's how you get behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for the discussion, guys?
Yeah, kind of.
Great. Let's go.
I mean, you mentioned, Dustin said, you know, we were talking about making sure your paperwork is there, your registration, and you brought up where your FWHA stickers are and stuff like that. And Jam, you used the word be an expert in your field. Is that an expert or it's what you have to do? It's just your job. Is it truly an expert? I mean, any driver here that goes to work for any single company, any trucking company, if they get in that truck, they should know that truck needs to have a sticker and that trailer needs to have a sticker. If they don't know that, what have they been doing? Where is their head? Right. You know what I mean? And I guess I don't want to call that an expert. That's just the minimum basic of the job.
Right.
Right? Is it? Am I taking away from it, or am I making it bigger than it is?
Do you have something to say, Dustin? I completely get what you're saying, right? But we've said it on this podcast before. Sometimes to stand out, you just got to do it the right way.
True.
Right? So when we look at JFW, are we just another trucking company? Because all we're doing is going trucking. Or are we the best trucking company because we go above and beyond, and we do it the right way. A lot of the things aren't above and beyond. We're just doing it the way it's supposed to be done, which in these days is above and beyond. You know what I mean? But I get your point. Like, doing a pre-trip inspection doesn't make you an expert. It makes you do your job, right?
Right.
I see your point.
Right. I mean, is making sure I have my registration and insurance with me today for my truck and trailer, am I an expert because I've done that, or am I just doing my job?
Or a professional. I guess maybe you're professionals. Because look at the urgent care situation. Or I'll be honest, when I went to a clinical at Longs Peak Hospital, I was just like, some of you people shouldn't be in this job.
Right. Jim.
There was a few people.
I agree.
Yeah, there was people that you could tell they cared. They had a heart for people. They wanted to help people. They wanted to serve people. And then there's people that would like grab their head and shake it because somebody sick came in the hospital. It's like, it's a freaking hospital.
Right.
Everybody that comes here is going to be sick. This is why you have a job.
Yeah.
I compare it to a mechanic that doesn't want to fix anything. Oh, another broken car. Oh, another broken truck. Yeah. If it wasn't for those broken cars and trucks, you wouldn't be
have
working.
a job.
Right? So, yeah, do you want the person that's shaking their head in disgust because you're sick, or do you want somebody that's going to serve you and see how they can make you feel better? Same thing. Do we want drivers that are going to do the bare minimum and push their paperwork off and leave their cabs disgusting and not sweep their tailgates off, or do we want the professionals that are going to give their 100% to their job?
Right.
So I call that an expert, but yeah, that wasn't probably the right word. It's more of giving your best and doing your best and, putting your best foot forward, creating that honest value. Super Dave used to say in these meetings and the interviews, honest value is just doing your very best. And
Right.
that's where we need to be.
Yep. I like it.
Me too. All right. Anything else for the discussion? Lola, you got anything you want to talk about?
No.
No? Okay.
The end of school's coming in maybe like a month, right?
Yeah.
A little over a month. Are you excited for that?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it, and like transitioning from middle school to high school.
Oh.
I'm excited for that.
Yep.
And then just like being with Olivia and like knowing I have someone there is like comforting in a way. So
Nice.
I'm not like all new about it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited about
What high school are you going to?
Mountain Range.
Oh, very cool.
Are you a good student?
I like to think I am.
You get good grades?
I definitely do better in some classes than
I
others.
think that's true of everybody.
That's life.
Yep.
And like when you think of your future, do you think of your future and like what you want to do with your life?
Yeah, all the time.
What do you want to do?
I'm really
Can we hear her?
I got it turned up
Okay,
a little bit,
okay.
but I mean, Dustin, you could stretch that out a little bit. There you go.
Yeah, I think about it all the time. I'm definitely into like nursing and wanting to be a travel nurse. And then I've
Nice.
also been like really into like auto mechanics and like just like learning about cars.
Be a nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. But like
I don't know. Mechanics are in a high demand, right?
Yeah, those traveling nurses, they're knocking it down. And you know what? There'll never be a shortage of sick people, ever.
Isn't that true?
But yeah, if you, and this is just my advice, if you become an RN at a young age, you will be ahead of the curve.
yeah, and I feel like my mom has a big thing to do with that because she's in the medical field, and like
Gotcha.
my dad being so my parents being so supportive.
Nice.
I feel like I have great role models.
Wow.
That's
Man,
awesome.
we should just have her on the podcast
Right.
next week. She is very
Right.
well spoken.
Yeah.
And when you said you have two good role models or one?
Well, I have two. They're both really great to me.
That's
Your
awesome.
sister and your mom?
Well, no, my dad and my.
Oh, that's awesome.
We love you, Dad.
Good job, Dustin.
Yeah, because there's
Good
been
job.
some points where I have not been a great role model.
It's human. We're human. We've all been there, you know?
Yep.
I'm sure at some point each and every one of us has regret about something we did, something we said, some way we handled a situation.
Absolutely.
I mean, man, if you think you're perfect, you probably shouldn't be at this table for
What-
sure.
One of my pastors used to tell the story. He was getting ready to have his first kid, and he went up to his pastor and he's like, I'm just so worried. I'm just so nervous. I'm terrified. And he's like, about what? He's like, oh no. He went to his dad and he's like, oh no. He went to his pastor. He's like, I don't want to make the same mistakes my dad made. and the pastor tells them, "Don't worry, you're going to make all your own mistakes."
Very true.
That is the truth.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to questions from the audience. I got to adjust my mic here. Big Country says, Brother Jim said something about getting an Amazon account and shuttling trailers. I was wondering if that's something we are going to actually start doing.
Yeah, as far as I know, Oswaldo's still trying to get through the package.
Right.
But it's not an easy sign here and move trailers contract by any means. But yeah, absolutely.
Lot of hoops.
Why shouldn't we take that on?
Right. Yeah, sometimes I think Oswaldo wonders if we're actually going to start doing it too, because he's been putting a lot of work
Right?
into it. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a month.
Yeah, there's a lot
At
of red
least.
tape and hoops to jump through
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, great question, though. And then safety topic of the week, no dumping next to another truck, right? Just think about, people will say, well, how far away do I need to be? Well, far enough away where if that trailer falls over, tips over, you're not going to get crushed.
Absolutely.
So I would say a minimum of 35 feet. I would probably say 50 feet's good,
Yeah.
just for good measure.
Yep.
Yeah, I have personally witnessed a trailer going over, and it is not a fun situation to be in. It is super scary. I wasn't the one that put the trailer over. Let's just put that out there.
Who was it?
It was one of my buddies.
It was Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Dan.
What's his last name? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, not our Dan now, an old Dan.
Were you going to say anything else?
No.
Oh, any tips on how to measure how far away you are from another truck?
Yeah, absolutely. Far enough away to where if that trailer was to go over, it's not going to take you out.
Right. So if you're dumping in a bin, if you see somebody dumping in a bin, don't go in the bin next to them, or even the one or two next to that. Just wait, be patient.
Or even in the situation to where your cab is cocked or you're
Right.
dumping jackknifed and your trailer goes over, it's going to crush you in the cab of your truck.
Yeah, we've seen pictures of that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
nothing
not pretty.
The other thing,
I just want to add to that because I know sometimes that's such a hard black and white rule, Dustin, and I guess I just want to throw out there. This is like synchronized trucking, though.
Yes.
I guess what I mean by that
I was
is,
just going to say this.
say, hypothetically, I've dumped Dustin. My load's completely out. I've pulled forward. There's no material left in my trailer, and my trailer's coming down. You pull in. I fully expect you to pull up next to me, back into the bin,
Right.
prep your setup. You know what I mean? That's the synchronized part.
Right.
Don't sit there and wait for this trailer to come down before
Right.
this truck can move. But there's courtesy to it, right? There's education to
absolutely.
it. That
And
doesn't mean back up.
communication.
Yeah, that doesn't mean, okay, he's just halfway through his dump. I'm going to set. No, you got to wait for him to be done
Right.
and that trailer coming down. Then prepare, communicate. All of the things we just said. It's like synchronized swimming. We're synchronized trucking.
100%, right? So the courtesy works both ways, right?
Yep.
So typically a rule for me, if a trailer is going up, you don't want to be near the trailer. It's full of sand.
Right.
Once it's empty, you're pretty safe. But also, if you see, if you just start getting set up and you're about to go in the air, but you could let a truck by you to either get set up or he's going
Yeah.
to dump in a different pile, you could wait 30 seconds to start going
wave 'em
up.
by.
Right?
Wave them by,
Absolutely.
tell them, hey, come on by. I'll wait before I go up.
Yep.
You could dump in that pile. I could dump in this pile. It doesn't mean two trucks can't dump at the same time.
Right.
You just need to be far enough away. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of the situation
Absolutely.
we had yesterday. It was a little unclear for the driver, so I wanted to bring this up. Don't next to each other, but to your point, let's be courteous and synchronize.
Yeah.
And let's be efficient so we can move as much material as possible.
It's been years ago, but I had a nightmare that I laid a trailer over, and typically I don't really remember my dreams or nightmares if I have them.
Remember that one?
I just don't. Right? I'm one of those guys. I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning. That's it. You know what I mean? If something went on, it dawns on me like, oh yeah, I had a dream a little bit. It's pretty vague. You know what I mean? I almost have to picture it or whatever. Man, this one it set me up. Right, dead sleep. Like that trailer fell on its side and I sat straight up in bed. My heart was pumping. I was nervous. I mean, it was the most realistic dream I have ever had. Well, nightmare I have ever had. And it's so realistic. I can't forget that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, just
Crazy stuff.
The sound of it happening, the creaking of the trailer when it went over, and just the impact onto the ground, and just the way it kind of tweaked the tractor to where it was a little offset, a little bit tilting. It's a vivid memory.
And how much did it take to tip over, Dustin?
Not very much.
Right?
Yeah, it didn't.
But it was enough.
It was enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It was enough. No back window on that truck.
Nope.
So, I mean, that was one of our hiccups, right?
Yep.
Hate not having back windows.
We were
You
dumping
can't-
in the middle of a field in Nebraska, and it was cold that day.
Cold. You drove all the way out to Nebraska in like below freezing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just that little bit of stickage
In the nose of the trailer, you
in the
mean?
nose of
So
the
there's some
trailer.
material stuck up
Yeah,
there?
because we try to pack those trailers as good as we can to get axle legal to go out there, and you do have to put it in the nose of the trailer.
Right.
But that bitumen.
Yeah, it's not
the
like
what-
when you're just going to plant 2 and you say, hey, put it all in the back. It's cold this morning.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
How many
Right?
trucks went out there?
There was 3 of us
How come the other 2 didn't tip over?
because we waited to dump. It was a situation where we knew it was cold out, and you can't rush situations like that.
Did you wait because the trailer went over? Or
Well, we did after we ended up dumping our loads and leaving about a couple hours later because we helped Dan out a little bit.
Right.
We didn't even have cell phone service where we were at,
Oh, God.
so we had to drive about 20 to 25 miles to the next town to get cell service.
Wow.
And making that phone call saying that there's a trailer laid over,
Who'd you call?
I think Linda took the call. We just called the office.
Yeah.
She'll tell Dave.
Yeah. Can you relay a message for us?
We done. Never mind.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Not this we.
Brother Dave already smelt it. He was like, oh, smells like we tipped one over.
Just to prepare for that, though, I mean, you were here that Saturday, Jim.
I had just started back up here.
there is a lot to that, right? We needed the lowboy, we needed a loader, we needed the skid steer, we needed forks, we needed torches, we needed, you know what I mean? All of the above to go out there. And then we went
It
out
was a
there.
snowstorm.
It was an
Yeah.
ice storm, wasn't
It
it?
was a freaking harrowing storm, you guys. A total ice storm. It was brutal. It was probably one of the most brutal situations just trucking in. I mean, when we stopped, we got off at that off ramp there between Keensburg and between Wiggins and Keensburg at the top of that hill. I don't even know how Ivan got stopped. He was on the
Ivan.
shoulder. I come off. I was in the one service truck, and I kind of just barely touched the brake. I had nothing. Like, it was glare ice.
Yeah.
And I started honking my horn because Ivan was getting out of the truck like he was going to stop and talk to me. And I'm like, you need to get the F out of the way, dude. I just sailed him. I went right on by, and then we had to get a hold because the other guy was stopping. But the ice storm was so bad, the wipers on those 2 trucks stopped working because there was so much ice buildup on the visors. The wiper couldn't get past the visor. The ice built up on the wiper. So we had to stop, bang the ice off of the, not only the wipers, but the visors just to keep going. And I'm like, we need to get out of here because like 2 more cars got off and just spun out of control, went off in the ditch, off the shoulder of the road. It was a bad idea.
Yes.
Bad idea where we were at.
So in my mind, we were out there, and I was like, "Oh, I'll help out the situation." And NDOT had a loader out there, and I know that they had keys in these loaders out there. And I was lifted up the carpet, pulled the key out, and I cleared out all the material out of the trailer and tried to set them up for success. Like, once they got out there, they can just throw the trailer on the lowboy and take off. And I just remember being in that situation, like
Stolen loader.
a stolen loader, us shoveling all that material out of the trailer, what I couldn't get with the loader and stuff like that. It was
Good job, Dustin, because you saved us a ton of time.
it was
A ton of time.
Dustin's
wild
a good
situation.
operator.
Yeah. It was all we could do to get that trailer back up on the drop deck.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we've done some shit.
That's funny. All right, tips and tricks from Ray Davis. Knowing when to call in on an engine check light or a check engine light. So when do you call or walk into the shop to talk to a mechanic about a check engine light? The answer is easy. You can always call or walk into the shop if you are in the yard. Sometimes first thing in the morning, you will have an orange check engine light. Some of the time it's because you started the truck before it did a complete cycle and the battery voltage dropped, and that will make your engine check light come on.
Perfect. Go for it, John.
Yeah.
I know you're going to clarify that.
Yeah, so everybody should know this. You turn your key, right, not all the way to start the truck, and you will hear the truck cycle through. Are those solenoids popping?
They're all the ABS wheel ends,
the
right?
wheel
So
ends,
you'll hear
right.
it on the truck, the trailer,
Yep.
the whole 9 yards.
And then I feel like you hear like the air dryer kick off, or
It
that-
does
what's
a
that?
final. It's
Like,
on the ABS valve
still
wherever
ABS?
it's at. Jam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once that's done, the truck is cycled
Absolutely.
completely. That's when you can start the truck. Don't just turn the key on and start it, because that's what screws up the computer.
Oh, believe me, I know when
Somebody else
came out to look at my Pete one day and plug the computer in because I was having transmission issues. And he's like, "Oh, I can see that you're not going through the cycle while starting this." And I'm like,
Like
yeah,
they have a history of that?
yeah, they can pull it up on the computer.
Huh. I feel like he just tricked you into admitting guilt.
No, no, because he showed me actually on his
Wow.
computer that
That's pretty cool.
I wasn't going through the cycles of starting my truck.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. If you have done a good pre-trip and all the gauges look good, walk into the shop. Don't call them on the company radio because a mechanic could be under a truck or fixing something already. So it's nothing worse for a mechanic when he's underneath the truck and you call on the radio to tell him you got an orange check engine light on. Walk into the shop and find out what's going on. Walk in and talk to the mechanic and let him make the decision if it's okay to start your day and write it up at the end of the day. If you get a red wrench with a stop engine, you need to pull over in a safe place and get out and check your truck out to make sure you're not leaking fluids and look to see or hear anything wrong with the truck. Do not turn your truck off until you have called into the shop and talked to a mechanic. This is really important because if you are getting this code and you turn your truck off, you might have put it into a 5 mile an hour D rate. Some of the times they're going to want you to bring it in, but you'll be able to bring it in at normal speed instead of 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So.
That's kind of a double-edged sword when you say that too, Jam, because we've had situations where, like, we've lost an injector tip or a valve and the engine is still running and it's just destroying things as the engine's running. So if it sounds fine, leave it running until you talk to a mechanic. If it's making a god-awful, horrific noise, please shut it off. If there's a problem,
If you hear metal banging on metal, disregard my lies.
you have to. These are clarifications we need, right?
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Right? Answer the questions the mechanic's asking. No more. He is going through a checklist in his head, so any other information is not needed. And this is a pet peeve of the mechanics. And Brother Dave, you talking about it. It's like, I heard it the other day. The question's like, did you try moving your truck with your diff lock engaged? I've tried everything. That's not what he asked.
Right.
He asked if you locked your diff in, right? So answer the questions as clearly and concisely as you can. They're the ones that are going to figure out what's wrong with it. The mechanic will give you instructions on what to do. Hope all is well with the JFW family, friends, and listeners. Remember, safety has no blind spots. Look and lean. Sit up in your stool and don't be a fool. Much love and respect always. 0013, the Black Sheep. That's Ray Davis.
I want to do a shout out to Ray, not only for doing these, but I know he's kind of struggling, got some stuff going on, and I talked to him a little bit yesterday, and he looks beat up a little bit. You know what I mean? He's grinding and trying to get through life, and it's tough. So Ray, hang in there, man. We appreciate everything you do for us, and love the tips and tricks from you, buddy.
Yep. I love when you proofread them. I'm just kidding. He made it a point to tell me yesterday. He's like, I've spaced it out. I use better punctuation, to make it easier for you to read. I'm like, thanks, bro.
So we can tease him tonight about an engine check light?
Yeah. I missed that one. I changed it in one spot, not all of them.
I guess technically it is an engine check light.
Yeah. It works.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts, everyone?
High Road Hauling.
High Road Hauling. That is a great final thought. Why is that not in here? Who sabotaged this outline?
Yeah, I came up with this High Road Hauling actually from the P. Diddy news.
The diddler?
and I know everybody's heard about that already, but
Blow the bridge, diddler. They're getting close.
one of his female associates, and I don't know exactly who she was because I just caught it on Entertainment Tonight when I was walking in the door, and she said, we reap what we sow, meaning he's getting his due now, right? So I kind of took that idea, and it is applicable to literally everything. So the topic today on the High Road Haulin' is we reap what we sow. In other words, what we do is never free of an outcome. The cause and effect relationship, like the pebble tossed into a pond and the ripples that move in the water after the pebble disappears. We often think, or would like to think, that what we do is isolated to the action or choice itself. By doing something or acting in a certain way, we have set the stage for a future outcome that is the result of our action, and those ripples can be far-reaching and long-lasting. You reap what you sow, you get what you give. If we look around us, what we see today will tell us the stuff that we sowed yesterday. We can complain about how our lives are going today, but look at the choices that we've made in the past. Every day we are faced with the decisions to make. Some simple and quick, like, do I need to turn right or left? Others not so easy, like, how do I raise my kids to be happy and successful? And unfortunately, hindsight is 20/20, but foresight is a bit blurrier. We need to focus on what happens next. Try to consider the consequences of your decisions. Will I hurt myself or maybe hurt someone else if I do that? Not every decision you make will benefit everybody, but you can eliminate the poor choices by simple logical deductions before you start. But first, stop and think. Almost always, when you feel like you just made a bonehead maneuver, it's because you didn't think it out first. And when that happens, there's no taking it back. The harm is already done. When you work hard towards a goal, you put your mind, energy, and heart into it, and you receive an equal amount back, even if that's not what you think you should be getting. Sometimes your profit isn't tangible, like money or material goods. Sometimes your reward is even better, like knowledge or personal or emotional growth or love. Benjamin Franklin once said, if you would be loved, be lovable and love back. So many people don't realize it. It takes a lot of hard work to get what you want. You not only need to focus and work hard towards a goal, that goal could be anything, a job or a promotion, or that new love interest or old love interest for that matter, or how to make that new recipe you just read about. You have to put the effort in to reap the reward. That brings us back to we reap what we sow. Don't ever be afraid to work for something you want. Don't be afraid to fail, because if you never plant the seed, it can't grow. And if you don't work hard to cultivate that seed, it won't grow into something beautiful. So the quote this week is, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, or whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. And that was spoken by Steve Jobs. So there you have it. You reap what you sow.
Dave, I'm going to jump right in on that, on the reap what you sow, but you have to believe that the dots will connect later. And I guess, I'm obviously going political, but the people that are in control at the Capitol right now, they just approved, the House approved a $40.6 billion budget here in Colorado for the year, right? That's up another $2 billion from last year. So I'm just going to read, because this is right off of the coloradopolitics.com site. And by the way, that budget passed with only one Republican vote. Only one Republican voted for it, and that's only because he was on the JBC, the Joint Budget Committee. So the Colorado House on Monday approved the state's $40.6 billion, that's billion with a B, dollar budget fiscal year more or less on party line vote. And it's a joke because it was 48 for, 16 against, only one yes from the Republicans. But that's because he worked on the joint budget.
He worked on the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's what's funny is he worked on the budget because he had to replace a fellow Republican that's out due to being treated for cancer. So he was kind of thrown in the budget, and he's like, I may as well vote for it. I got like one or two things, but that's it. You know what I mean? So instead of being totally against it. So anyway, the 48-16 vote with just one yes from Republicans. From it was Representative Rick Taggart from Grand Junction. So Taggart joined the Joint Budget Committee this year, replacing Representative Rod Bockenfeld from Watkins, who's undergoing cancer treatment. So the House Republicans tried to blow off their no votes, acknowledging the hard work of the Joint Budget Committee, which began looking at the numbers for the upcoming budget last November when Governor Jared Polis presented his budget. So the Republicans called the budget runaway spending. What they have here is Lisa Frizzell from Castle Rock. She noted that the budget has increased, and this frickin' blows me away, you guys. The budget has increased $17 billion in 5 years. Wow. So our Colorado state budget has increased $17 billion in the last 5 years, including $2 billion more for this year. So she asks, did my constituents see a 5.75% increase in their take-home pay? She asked. We've told the citizens of Colorado to tighten their belts while we in this building are on a spending spree year after year. She also called the budget a failure, adding lawmakers can't say no. And furthermore, Representative Mark Catlin from Montrose, he's in his 8th session there. He said he thought he first came to the Capitol to talk about agriculture and water and schools. While that has happened, what else has occurred is a tidal wave of eagerness to spend money without thinking of the unintended consequences, he said. Sooner or later, he said he hopes sooner, the state will realize it needs to step on the brakes to avoid a downhill slide. The state has gotten used to spending without thinking where the money comes from, he added. That $17 billion increase in 5 years, you guys all know Polis has been in charge for 6. So in 5 years, he's increased our budget that much money. Wow. I'm trying to point out a fact of everything that they are doing costs us more money.
Yeah, where's that money come from?
And not only that, Jim, I have 2 questions for you. You just asked the one. Where does that money come from? Each and every person listening to this podcast. Yep. Here's my next question. Where do you see it being spent? Are your roads any better? Is anything you're paying all this money for, do you see anything any better? No, because they've stuffed everything in climate. Everything is freaking climate-based. We need, instead of climate justice, I'm telling you, we either need government justice or economy justice. Someone needs to start fighting these people. So the House Republicans tried to soften their blow with, oh, sorry, wrong page. I flipped over the wrong way. So Taggart, he's the lone House Republican on the Joint Budget Committee, told his colleagues that one number should have jumped out to everybody, that was 67% of the proposed budget increase was happening in 2 departments, which he said addressed underserved populations. And I find this interesting. One was the Department of Higher Education, where it says 70% of the jobs will require a certificate or a degree. If we're going to solve the problem, we need to provide people with an opportunity to pull themselves out of poverty. Then, when I heard that, I thought, okay, they're after helping everyone get a college education, a higher degree, right? You go right here to the University of Washington, probably one of the most well-known universities in the nation. They say that after graduating, approximately 53% of college students are either unemployed or working in a job that didn't require a degree. It shouldn't be a surprise that given this data, 49% of all recent college grads didn't even bother applying to an entry-level professional job in 22 because they felt underqualified. Had these same students been given opportunities for real-world practical experiences as part of their education, these numbers might not be so alarmingly high. So they're after sending more money to something that's already in decline. I mean, it's like chasing bad with worse and spending our money. So, and the other department that they spent, the other portion of that $2 billion, the $1.3 billion, was K through 12 education, which, you know, I guess maybe I was blessed and Sam was in a good school system, you know, for grade school, junior high, and high school. I mean, what do you think of your kids' education, Dustin? Are you happy with it? Are the kids getting what they should be getting? Do you think it's up to the kids? Do you think it's up to the parents?
I don't think the kids are getting a great education anymore in the public schools. They've cut out a lot of different subjects and stuff like that, and I think it's really important that they have those subjects like history. You ask these kids about history now, and they're just oblivious to what happened.
Right.
The school system definitely fails the kids.
Yeah. How involved do you think the parents need to be in some of that?
Super involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the way home from school last night to see the exact conversation I had with my wife. Like, we don't feel Bella's getting a good education. You know, does it fall on us? Like, should we be reading with her more? Should we be doing stuff? Yeah, but my parents didn't have to do that. I went to school, I got educated, and I feel like I got a good education as much as I wanted to learn, you know? And it's just really disappointing, you know, like for Bella, school's like a social event. Like,
right.
That's what's important. And that may be more on me and Ace, you know, to try to teach her the value of learning. But, you know, Ace wants to figure out a way to homeschool her, you know, which, you know, I mean, Bella's education is super important. It should be number one,
right?
You know, but that does affect a lot of things, you know, to be able to homeschool our daughter, you know. But it's like, I just don't know what to do. Do we try a different public school? But it's just sad. Like, I just think the school sucks, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
It feels like they're just scooting the kids through. Like, okay, you went through 10th grade. You're on to 11th now.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. I've heard of the no kid left behind rule, where that just means they move to the next grade. Yep. I don't know whether that's true, but I've heard of that. So
I've heard of it too.
Is that right, Olivia?
Lola.
Lola, sorry. Been calling you Lola all day. Sorry.
I feel like it could be right because I feel like we're not learning like a bunch of like home ec stuff. Like I've heard like my dad or my grandma talk about it, and I've like never heard of like these classes before.
Huh.
And I feel like maybe the teachers could help out more because I feel like, you know, sometimes I'll be struggling and they see it and they just like don't help. I don't know how to like explain it, but like they do that sometimes.
Got it.
Interesting. Well, we threw some money at it this year. Sounds like about a portion of $1.34 billion for K through 12. So wow. I hope it helps. So the budget is just not a number of a collection of numbers on tables. Every dollar spent can make a difference in someone's life, and it's our responsibility to make sure those funds are spent wisely, says Emily Sirota, Democrat out of Denver. So that JBC, another portion of the JBC chairman, Shannon Bird out of Westminster, she happens to be my representative there in Westminster, a Republican. She said the proposed budget does not overspend. She says we aren't able to overspend, she said, that should be in taxpayers' pockets. Well, if they can't overspend, how do they increase the budget by $17 billion?
I was going to say, we all got the Tabor refund last year. So they probably thought, well, we can spend more money.
Right.
We'd rather spend it than give it back to the taxpayers.
Right, exactly. So that Shannon Bird, she's most proud of the bipartisan collaboration on the budget work, adding, "This gives me such faith in government." And you guys heard me say that one Republican was on the JBC. So she thinks that's joint working together. So anyway, they go on a little further, and there's just not much there other than the increase of that budget, and it's just mind-boggling to me. I guess when I ask all you guys and gals that are out there listening to this is, look at what you're paying, and do you see what you're getting? Because I don't. I only see increased costs because of our government spending. Our taxes have gone up. The price of vehicles have gone up. Eggs, bacon, groceries. I mean, to go buy 5 grocery bags that they won't even allow you to have anymore. You can't even get a damn plastic bag anymore. Because we're going to save the world, right? From plastic bags.
Yeah, you can. I just bought 350 of them on Amazon.
Do you take them into King Supers when you're shopping, Dave? That would be
No,
hilarious.
but we
I think I'm
use
going to
them
buy
around
some
the
just
house,
to take with me.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it just, man, look around, see what you're paying for things, and that's because the government is increasing everything. You know, I've talked about it before. The price of our trucks, we have to pass that on. The price of your vehicles, they have to pass that on. Everything is costing so much more, and I can tie it almost all back to climate. I mean, almost every single fact is tied back to climate. And at some point, we're there. We can't do more. You can't keep crucifying us on the climate. It's a climate crucifix is what it is, damn near. So please help us out. You know what I mean? We're dying on climate. It's over. So anyway, that's my thought.
Got it. Any more thoughts there, Sue?
Yeah, work hard because you reap what you sow.
There you go. It sure helps, doesn't it, Dave?
That's right. Work hard for what you want.
If you were smarter, you'd work harder. Never mind. Dustin?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm happy to be back on this Monday the 8th. I'll be back, and I just want to tell all my peers here, thank you for reaching out, and your love and support really helped me through this process. And also, if you're out there driving, don't be distracted by your cell phone or anything else in your cab. It can all wait until you're to where you're going. And just remember one thing, I'll be watching now.
Wow.
Threats are flying.
That's awesome.
Well, my final thought is similar to Dustin's. Dustin, I'm happy you're coming back. It's great to see you. You've actually been an inspiration to watch you do something hard and come through it and get to the other side and, you know, smile and radiate, and you look good. And, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast, and I can't wait for Monday. Lola, sorry for the name mix-up. I know who you are. Appreciate you being here with your dad today. Love seeing a young person that's motivated to do something and actually has a plan, what she wants to do with her life, and good plans too. So you should be proud of yourself, and you do have good people in your life and inspirations and role models. So that's good stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Channel 23 podcast. Hit that follow button. Also, don't forget to go back and listen to episode 72 to help find Amber's mom. Links to her story will be in today's notes of the podcast. Let's say the creed and get on out.
Nice.
Together we face and overcome all that stands before us. Together we are accident-free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. Together we are the JFW family.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week. Be safe out there.
Have a great week, everybody. Good week.
I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. They just keep them doors a-closed, keep them butts in their seats, 'cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They've gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.